What's the cost of disrespect? For one airline, it wasn't just a lawsuit or a bad press day. It was $5 billion. This is the story of Dr. Eleanor Sutton, a woman who was publicly humiliated, racially profiled, and dragged off a flight by security. The flight attendant who sneered at her, the agent who manhandled her, and the CEO who ignored her all thought she was just another passenger. They were wrong. They had just assaulted the most powerful black woman in finance, and she was about to teach them the most expensive lesson of their lives. The air in Terminal 4 of JFK was thick with the smell of stale coffee and the collective anxiety of 100 delayed flights. Dr. Eleanor Sutton leaned her head against a support pillar, the rough paint a stark contrast to the plush leather of the boardroom she had just left. She was exhausted, not just tired, she was bone-weary, down to the marrow. For the last 72 hours, she had been in a locked-down negotiation, a marathon of spreadsheets, legal jargon, and high-stakes posturing. As the CEO and founder of Summit Equity Partners, she was the architect of a $5 billion deal. It was a complex, leveraged buyout of a smaller, innovative airline, Aerotech, which would then be merged with the legacy carrier, Global Air Dynamics. This deal wasn't just big, it was transformative. It would save Global Air, GAD, from its slow decline and create the largest, most advanced airline in North America. And it was finally done. The ink was dry. All she wanted was to get home. She'd given her private jet crew the week off, expecting the negotiations to last through the weekend. This sudden resolution left her flying commercial. She'd booked the last seat available, a premium economy window seat, 12A, on GAD Flight 881 to Los Angeles. She didn't look like a woman who commanded a $90 billion equity fund. She wore black joggers, a simple grey hoodie from her alma mater, and designer sneakers that were built for comfort, not show. Her hair was pulled back into a simple, elegant bun. Anonymity was a luxury, one she usually enjoyed. Today it would be a liability. The gate area was a mess. Flight 881 was delayed by 2 hours due to a late-arriving crew. The tension was palpable. A gate agent, a man in his late 40s with a sour expression and a name tag reading Mark, was getting visibly frustrated. "We will board by groups. Do not crowd the podium," he snapped into the microphone. When they finally called her group, Eleanor shuffled forward, backpack slung over one shoulder. As she reached the podium, Mark snatched her boarding pass. He looked at the pass, then at her, then back at the pass. "You're in the premium cabin?" he asked, his voice dripping with skepticism. "Yes, 12A, Eleanor said, her voice tired but polite. Mark squinted at her. "Funny, you don't look like a premium passenger." Eleanor froze. The microaggression was so blatant, so unnecessary, it took her breath away. She could have eviscerated him. She could have shown him the executive platinum million-miler diamond-encrusted card that was sitting in her wallet. She could have asked for his manager. But she was so tired. "I just want to go home," she said, her voice flat. "May I have my pass back?" Mark grunted and handed it back, deliberately brushing her fingers with his. "Whatever. Have a nice flight." As she walked down the jet bridge, she felt a burning sensation in her chest. It was the familiar sting of casual, everyday racism. It didn't matter that she was on the cover of Forbes last month. It didn't matter that her signature was worth $5 billion to the very company this man worked for. To him, she was just a black woman in a hoodie who didn't look like she belonged. She stepped onto the aircraft and was greeted by a flight attendant who looked as stressed as the gate agent. Her name tag read Brenda. Brenda gave Eleanor a plastic smile that didn't reach her eyes, pointed vaguely toward the aisle, and then turned back to her colleague to complain about the catering. Eleanor found her seat, 12A. She slid into the window seat, grateful to be out of the terminal. She stowed her backpack, pulled out a thick financial report, and closed her eyes, trying to find a moment of peace. The deal was done. The hard part was over. Or so she thought. The boarding process was chaotic. Passengers were arguing over overhead bin space, and the flight attendants were making half-hearted, contradictory announcements. Eleanor kept her eyes closed, focusing on her breathing. She just needed to get through the next 5 hours. "Excuse me, you're in my seat." Eleanor opened her eyes. A man was standing in the aisle, glaring down at her. He was in his 50s, wearing a rumpled suit, and reeked of duty-free cologne. "I'm sorry?" Eleanor said, sitting up. "My seat. 12A. You're in it." "Get up," he said, not as a request, but as a command. Eleanor, accustomed to de-escalating tense rooms, pulled out her boarding pass. "I'm 12A, she said calmly. "Perhaps you're 12C. "I am 12A, the man snapped, his face reddening. He waved his own boarding pass, but not close enough for her to read. "Now move." "Sir, I'm sure we can sort this out. My pass says 12A. Could you please check yours again?" The man, let's call him Mr. Caldwell, puffed up. "Are you calling me stupid? I know my own seat. Flight attendant," he bellowed, waving his arm. Brenda, the flight attendant from the door, bustled over, her face a mask of annoyance. "What is the problem here?" "This woman is in my seat," Caldwell declared, pointing an accusatory finger at Eleanor, "and she's refusing to move." Brenda didn't even look at Eleanor. She looked at Caldwell, then at the empty aisle seat, 12B, and the other empty aisle seat, 12C. She turned her exasperation on the one person she felt she could. "Ma'am, you're holding up the entire plane. You need to move," Brenda said, her voice sharp. Eleanor held up her boarding pass. "My name is Eleanor Sutton. My seat is 12A. This is my pass. Could you please check this gentleman's pass?" Brenda snatched the pass from her hand. She glanced at it, then at Mr. Caldwell. "Sir, can I see your pass?" Caldwell flashed his pass. Brenda squinted at it. A flicker of uncertainty crossed her face, but it was replaced by hardened resolve. She had already chosen her side. "Meto, ma'am," she said, her voice dripping with a sickly sweet, condescending tone. "It seems your pass has you in 12C. This gentleman is in 12A. Eleanor's blood ran cold. It wasn't a mistake. It was a lie. "No," Eleanor said, her voice losing its tiredness and gaining a steel edge. "That is incorrect. My pass says 12A. I am not moving. Please get your purser or the gate agent to scan both passes." Brenda's eyes narrowed. The polite, tired woman in the hoodie was gone, and in her place was someone giving orders. Brenda didn't like that. "Ma'am, I am not going to argue with you," Brenda said, her voice rising. "You are causing a disturbance. You either move to 12C, or you will be removed from this flight." The other passengers were watching now. Phones were emerging, though not yet recording. People were muttering. "Just move," someone whispered from behind. "I am in the seat assigned to me," Eleanor stated, her voice low and dangerous. "I am a paying passenger, and you are making a false claim. I will not be moved based on your error." Mr. Caldwell piled on. "She's being aggressive. I don't feel safe. She threatened me." Brenda seized on it. "That's it. You've threatened another passenger. You are a safety risk." She turned and spoke into her intercom phone. "I need security at gate 42. I have a non-compliant passenger." "Threatening." Eleanor stared in disbelief. It was happening so fast. She went from being a premium passenger to a safety risk in 30 seconds. "This is absurd," Eleanor said, pulling out her own phone. "I'm going to record this." "Oh no, you're not," Brenda snapped, trying to grab the phone. Eleanor pulled it back. "Don't touch me," Eleanor commanded. "She put her hands on me," Brenda shrieked, jumping back as if she'd been electrocuted. "Security! Help! She assaulted me!" The cabin door opened, and Mark, the gate agent, stepped on, followed by 2 uniformed airport police officers. The scene was set. a hysterical flight attendant, a victim passenger, Caldwell, who looked smug, and Eleanor, the black woman in a hoodie, holding a phone. The narrative had been written for her. "That's her," Brenda said, pointing a trembling finger at Eleanor. "She's in the wrong seat, refused to move, threatened Mr. Caldwell, and then she assaulted me when I asked her to stop." The two officers, one a burly man named Officer Miller, and the other a younger, more nervous man, Officer Chen, moved into the aisle. They didn't ask questions, they didn't investigate. They saw the situation through the lens Brenda had provided. "Ma'am," Officer Miller said, his voice a low rumble. "You need to gather your belongings and come with us. Now." "Officer, I have done nothing wrong," Eleanor said, trying to keep her voice even, to project the authority she was used to. "This flight attendant is lying. I am in my assigned seat. Here is my boarding pass. All I ask is that you scan it." "We're not scanning anything," Miller said, his patience already gone. "You've been ordered off the aircraft by the flight crew. That's final. Let's go." "I will not," Eleanor said. "I am not being removed for a crime I did not commit. I am Dr. Eleanor Sutton. I need to speak to the captain of this flight." The name meant nothing to them. "Doctor who?" "I don't care if you're Dr. Seuss," Miller growled. "You're getting off this plane, either on your own 2 feet or in cuffs." He reached for her arm. Eleanor flinched back. "Do not put your hands on me." That was all the justification he needed. "She's resisting." Miller grabbed her left arm, twisting it. Officer Chen, looking uneasy, grabbed her right. Mr. Caldwell had retreated to the galley, watching with a satisfied smirk. Passengers were filming openly now. "This is assault," Eleanor cried out as they yanked her from the seat. Her backpack was still on the floor. As they dragged her into the aisle, her foot caught the strap. The bag tipped over, spilling its contents. Her keys, a leather-bound notebook, and her company-issued laptop. The laptop, a sleek carbon fiber machine, clattered onto the metal seat track and skidded across the floor. The screen spider-webbed with a sickening crunch. Eleanor screamed, "My laptop, stop!" That laptop contained the only signed digital copy of the $5 billion term sheet, the final, executed agreement. The backup was on a secure server, but this was the primary. "Leave it," Miller commanded. "You're not getting it. That is my property. You've destroyed my property." They didn't care. They dragged her, one officer on each arm, down the aisle. It was the most profound humiliation of her life. Every passenger stared, some with pity, some with fear, some with the same smug satisfaction as Caldwell. She was no longer Dr. Sutton, CEO of Summit Equity. She was a spectacle, a problem, a dangerous black woman being put in her place. They hustled her down the jet bridge, which was empty and cold. When they reached the gate area, Mark was there, arms crossed. "Told you she was trouble," Mark muttered to Brenda, who had followed them off. They didn't take her to a quiet office. They took her to a small, glass-walled detention room right at the gate, in full view of everyone in the terminal. They pushed her into a hard plastic chair and cuffed one of her hands to a metal bar on the table. "We're processing you for interfering with a flight crew and assault," Officer Miller said. "You're banned from Global Air, and you're lucky you're not going to Central Booking." Brenda and Mark stood outside the glass, watching. Brenda was dabbing at her dry eyes, performing for the gathering crowd. Mark just looked triumphant. Eleanor sat there, under the fluorescent lights, her wrist chafing in the cold steel cuff. The exhaustion was gone. The tiredness had been burned away. In its place was a cold, pure, diamond-hard fury. She looked at her watch. 9:30 p.m. She looked through the glass at Brenda, who met her gaze and smiled, a small, vicious smile of victory. Eleanor smiled back, a smile that didn't touch her eyes, a smile that promised annihilation. She had one phone call. They thought she would call a lawyer, a husband, a friend. She didn't. She called her chief of staff. Peter Jordan, Eleanor's chief of staff, was at a bar in Manhattan having his first drink in 3 days. When his phone rang with the Code Helios identifier, he dropped his glass. Helios was Eleanor's personal line. It was never used unless the world was ending. He answered before the second ring. "Eleanor, are you okay? Did the plane go down?" "Peter," came Eleanor's voice. It was shockingly calm. Too calm, it was the voice she used when she was about to liquidate a failing company. "I'm at JFK. I've been detained by airport police. I'm in a holding room at Gate 42, Terminal 4. Peter was already out the door, flagging a cab. "Detained? For what? I'll have legal there in 20... "No," she cut him off. "Listen to me. No lawyers. Not yet. I have one call. First, I need you to find a copy of the press release we drafted for the GAD merger. The negative one. The deal failed scenario. Yes, it's in the deep archive. Why?" "Activate it," Eleanor said. The line went silent for a beat. Peter's blood turned to ice. "Eleanor, what does that mean? Activate it?" "It means the deal is dead, effective immediately. I want you to call Robert Stone's office, right now." "Robert Stone? The CEO of Global Air? It's 9:30 at night, Eleanor." "I don't care if he's in surgery. You get him on the phone. You get the entire GAD executive board on the phone. Tell them Dr. Sutton has invoked Article 14B of the term sheet. Article 14B, the catastrophe clause. It was a legal escape hatch designed for events like a sudden market crash, a declaration of war, or a total and irredeemable breakdown of partner confidence. It was a corporate nuke. "My God," Peter whispered. "Eleanor, what happened?" "Global Air employees," she said, her voice dropping, "assaulted me. They racially profiled me, lied about my behavior, and had me forcibly, physically, removed from Flight 881. They destroyed my laptop, and they have me handcuffed to a table at the gate." Peter stopped breathing. What?" "The deal is dead, Peter. But that's not all. I want you to initiate the Red Protocol. Dump it all." "Red Protocol?" Peter was horrified. "Eleanor, that's our entire holding in GAD. That's a 7% stake. It's over $900 million. We'll flood the market. The stock will collapse. We'll lose $100 million just on the sale." "I am aware of the math, Peter," she said. "Consider it a termination fee. When the market opens at 9:30 a.m. tomorrow, I want every single share of Global Air Dynamics sold. Every single share. Alert the PR team. The release goes out at 9:31 a.m. Title: Summit Equity divests from Global Air, cites critical operational failures and liability concerns." "Jesus, okay, I'm on it. I'll get legal to you." "After you do that," Eleanor interrupted, "you will charter a plane. Get me out of New York. And Peter?" "Yes?" "Find out who the CEO of Aerotech is, the company we were going to buy for GAD. Get him on my calendar for tomorrow, 10:00 a.m. Click. Meanwhile, in a high-rise in Chicago, Robert Stone, CEO of Global Air Dynamics, was clinking a glass of $500 bottle champagne with his wife. "To us," he toasted. "To the merger. To saving this god-forsaken company." His phone buzzed. It was his executive assistant, Sarah, frantic. He sighed and picked up. "Sarah, it's 9:30. This had better be important." "Sir!" Sarah's voice was thin and reedy. "Summit Equity is on the line. Peter Jordan. He says Dr. Sutton has invoked 14B. He says the deal is dead." The champagne glass slipped from Robert's hand, shattering on the marble floor. "What?" he choked. That's impossible. A joke. The deal is signed. We're celebrating. Get Jordan back on the line. Get Sutton on the line." "That's the other thing, sir," Sarah said, her voice cracking. "Mr. Jordan says Dr. Sutton is unavailable. She's currently in a detention room at JFK. At our gate, Robert Stone's world tilted. He didn't know the details, but he didn't need to. The single most important woman in his company's future was at that moment in the custody of his people. "Get me the station manager at JFK," he roared, fumbling for his coat. "Get me the head of airport security. Get me the mayor. Find out what happened. And find her." David Chen, the JFK station manager for Global Air, was 10 minutes from the end of his double shift when his phone exploded with a call from the CEO's personal line. He had never spoken to Robert Stone in his life. "Mr. Chen!" Stone screamed, his voice distorting the speaker. "What in God's name is happening at your station? You have Dr. Eleanor Sutton in custody? The Eleanor Sutton?" "Who?" David asked, his mind blanking. "Sir, I have no—" "Wait. The incident on 881? The disruptive passenger?" "She is not a disruptive passenger, you idiot!" Stone shrieked. "She is our $5 billion partner. She is the merger. You fix this. You fix this now. You get down there, you get her on a private jet, you kiss her feet. I don't care. You save this deal." David sprinted from his office, his tie flying. He ran through the terminal, shoving passengers aside. He knew about the woman in 12A. Mark and Brenda had filed the report. Non-compliant, aggressive, assaulted crew. He had signed off on it himself without reading it. He skidded to a halt outside the glass holding room. He saw her, a black woman in a hoodie, one hand cuffed to a table. She was looking at her phone with her free hand, her face a mask of serene, terrifying calm. The police officers were gone, having been called to another gate. It was just her. He fumbled for his keys, unlocked the door, and stumbled in, panting. "Dr. Sutton? Dr. Eleanor Sutton?" He wheezed. Eleanor looked up slowly. Her eyes were like black ice. I am David Chen. I'm the station manager here. Dr. Sutton, there has been a monumental misunderstanding." He rushed over and used his master key to unlock the cuff. "Oh my God, are you hurt? Please let me help you." Eleanor rubbed her wrist, not looking at him. "Where are my belongings?" "Yes, of course." David ran out, grabbed her backpack from the security desk, and retrieved the shattered laptop from Mark, who was now pale as a ghost. "Mark, Brenda, you are suspended," David hissed at them. "Get to my office. Now." He brought the items back to Eleanor, setting them on the table. He saw the destroyed laptop. His stomach turned. "Dr. Sutton, we will replace this. A new laptop. Anything. Please," David begged, clasping his hands. "Mr. Stone is on his way to the airport personally. He is devastated. This is not who we are. This is the fault of a few bad apples." Eleanor finally looked at him. Her gaze was so penetrating, he felt like an insect under a microscope. "A few bad apples, Mr. Chen?" she said, her voice quiet. "Your bad apple gate agent, Mark, profiled me at the podium. Your bad apple flight attendant, Brenda, lied to my face and accused me of assault when I corrected her. Your bad apple security team physically dragged me from my paid-for seat and destroyed my property. And you signed off on it. You didn't ask a single question. You didn't look at a single piece of security footage. You just processed the report." David's face went white. I was busy. This isn't an apple problem, Mr. Chen. It's the tree. It's the soil. It's the entire orchard. You have a systemic cultural rot in this company. A culture where your employees feel empowered to humiliate a passenger based on their appearance, and your management structure supports them. "We will fire them," David said desperately. "They're gone. Today." "You don't get it," Eleanor said, standing up. "You're not firing them because they're prejudiced. You're firing them because I'm rich. That's the problem. You're not sorry for what you did. You're sorry for who you did it to." A man in a sharp suit, Eleanor's lawyer, appeared at the door. Behind him, 2 private security guards. "Dr. Sutton, the car is ready," the lawyer said. Eleanor slung her backpack over her shoulder, leaving the broken laptop on the table. "Please," David pleaded, blocking her path. "Dr. Sutton, Eleanor, what can we do to save the deal? Mr. Stone, the company, this will ruin us." Eleanor paused at the door. She looked back at the station manager, a man whose life was unraveling in real time. "The deal?" she said, as if just remembering it. "The deal is dead. My firm is divesting its entire position in your company at market open tomorrow. That's $900 million in sell orders. I'd advise you to call your personal broker." David physically staggered. No, $900 million. That will trigger. The stock will be worthless." "Yes," Eleanor said. "As for what you can do, you can find Brenda and Mark. Tell them what you've done. Tell them they didn't just lose their jobs. They just cost your company $5 billion. And then you can go update your resume. I suspect Robert Stone will be looking for a scapegoat, and you're the most qualified candidate, I see." She walked out into the terminal, flanked by her security, leaving David Chen standing in the detention room, a vacuum opening in his stomach. The financial apocalypse was coming. The next morning, at 9:29 a.m., the pre-market for Global Air Dynamics, ticker GAD, was stable. The financial world was still giddy about the merger. Analysts were predicting a 20% jump. At 9:30 a.m., Peter Jordan executed the Red Protocol. A single sell order for 45 million shares of JAD, valued at just over $900 million, hit the market. It was a market order, meaning sell at any price. The high-frequency trading algorithms caught it first. A sell order that massive could only mean one thing: catastrophe, a scandal, a bankruptcy. Within 3 seconds, automated systems dumped billions more in GAD stock to get ahead of the crash. By 9:31 a.m., when Summit Equity's press release hit the wires, the stock had already been halted, having dropped 62%. The release was brutal. It was pure corporate legal savagery. Summit Equity Partners has terminated its 5B financing agreement with Global Air Dynamics, citing a comprehensive review that revealed critical and systemic operational failures, significant cultural liabilities, and a complete loss of confidence in JAD's executive management and internal controls. Summit has divested 100% of its position in the company. It was a kill shot. Operational failures and cultural liabilities were code. The entire market knew instantly that this wasn't about numbers. It was about a scandal. The business press went insane trying to find the source. Robert Stone was in the GAD war room, watching his company's value evaporate on a giant screen. He had been there all night. He had flown to JFK, but Eleanor was long gone. He had groveled to Peter Jordan on the phone, offering private jets, public apologies, his own resignation. Peter had simply replied, "Our decision is final. Please direct future correspondence to our legal department." Now the board was on a conference call, and they were screaming. "Robert, what is this?" yelled Judith, the head of the board's finance committee. "A customer service incident. You let a $5 billion deal die. You've bankrupted us over a seat dispute." It was 2 employees," Robert stammered. "It was you, Robert," Judith roared. "We just got the footage from airport security. We saw it. We saw her. We saw them assault her. We saw them break her property. And your station manager cuffed her. This is negligence on a scale I have never seen. The lawsuits alone. But this divestment, it's over. I can fix it," Robert pleaded. I'll fly to LA. I'll get on my knees. You'll do nothing," Judith said, her voice cold. "The board has convened. Robert, you are terminated, effective immediately. Security is on its way to your office. Do not touch anything. You are a critical liability." Robert Stone dropped the phone. He was ruined. But the story wasn't over. Eleanor Sutton wasn't just a woman who held a grudge. She was a CEO, and a shark that smells blood doesn't just swim away. It hunts. At 10 a.m. in her LA office, dressed in a sharp black power suit, Eleanor sat down for a video call. On the other end was Alex Dean, the young, brilliant CEO of Aerotech. Alex looked like he hadn't slept. "Dr. Sutton, I don't know what to say. The deal is dead. Gay-D is imploding. We're ruined. We were counting on this." "Calm down, Alex," Eleanor said, her voice warm for the first time in 48 hours. "Your deal with Global Air is dead. You're right. But your company is sound. Your tech is brilliant. Your logistics platform is the future." "It doesn't matter," Alex said, running his hands through his hair. "Without the GAD merger, we don't have the capital to scale. We're finished." "No, you're not," Eleanor said. She leaned forward. "That $5 billion in financing, it's still in my fund. It's earmarked for aviation. GAD's failure to perform doesn't change my thesis." Alex's eyes went wide. What are you saying?" This was the twist, the real karma. "I'm saying I'm not interested in buying you anymore, Alex. I'm interested in backing you. I'm not offering you an acquisition. I'm offering you a $5 billion investment, direct from Summit. We're not going to save Global Air. We're going to replace them." Alex was speechless. This was 100 times better. He wouldn't be a division manager at GAD. He would be the CEO of the best-funded, most aggressive new airline in the world. "We will take their routes," Eleanor continued, her voice like silk. "We will take their landing slots as they default on them. We will hire their best pilots and engineers as they flee the wreckage. That $5 billion was meant to save an old, broken, prejudiced company. Instead, we're going to use it to build a new one. One built on respect, efficiency, and my bottom line." "Yes," Alex whispered, a slow grin spreading across his face. "Oh yes, absolutely. Dr. Sutton, you are incredible." Eleanor smiled. "I'm not. I'm just a good businesswoman. And I don't like my partners assaulting me. Now let's get to work. We have an airline to bury." The end of a corporation is not a sudden event. It is a slow, agonizing bleed-out, followed by a feeding frenzy. 18 months after Dr. Eleanor Sutton's Red Protocol, the final rites for Global Air Dynamics were read in the sterile, beige confines of the U.S. Bankruptcy Court for the Southern District of New York. The courtroom was packed, not with family, but with creditors, lawyers in dark suits, representing fuel suppliers, aircraft lessors, bondholders, and pilots' unions, all gathered like crows to pick at the carcass. The company that had once dominated the skies, a 90-year-old icon of American aviation, was now just a pile of liabilities on a docket. "Per the Chapter 7 liquidation agreement," the judge intoned, his voice devoid of emotion. "The remaining tangible and intangible assets of Global Air Dynamics, docket number 77-19A, will be auctioned to satisfy the senior secured creditors." A man in the second row, representing the GAD Pilots' Pension Fund, buried his head in his hands. There would be nothing left for them. "We now open the bidding for the most valuable remaining assets. The 48 landing and takeoff slots at New York JFK, the 32 slots at Los Angeles LAX, and the 24 slots at London Heathrow." A palpable tension filled the room. These slots were the crown jewels, the entire basis for a global airline. "We have a registered opening bid," the judge continued, "from Aerotech Summit in the amount of $50 million. A gasp went up. $50 million was an insult. A year and a half ago, those slots alone were valued at over $2 billion. But with no other major carrier having the liquidity to expand, Aerotech Summit was the only player at the table. $50 million going once, going twice, Sold. To Aerotech Summit. In the back row, a young lawyer from Alex Dean's team sent a simple text. It's done. We own the sky. The final item was the GAD brand itself. The logo, the trademarks, the website domains. Do we have any bids for the intellectual property of Global Air Dynamics? The judge asked, shuffling his papers, eager to be done. Silence. No one wanted it. The brand was toxic, a byword for failure, discrimination, and collapse. Very well, the judge said. The brand is declared worthless and will be remanded to the public domain. This corporation is, as of 11:04 a.m., officially dissolved. We are adjourned. It was over. 30,000 jobs. A century of history. Deleted by a gavel, all because a gate agent and a flight attendant decided to flex their little muscles on the wrong woman. The karma that rained down on the individuals was not a single lightning strike. It was a slow drip poison, a daily, hourly reminder of their failure. Robert Stone, the disgraced former CEO of Global Air Dynamics, was a phantom. His golden parachute had been clawed back by the bankruptcy court to pay creditors. The shareholder lawsuits had personally bankrupted him. He had gone from a titan of industry, a man who golfed with senators, to an untouchable. He was sitting in the dark panelled bar of the Capitol Grill in Manhattan, a place where he used to command the corner booth. Now, he was at a small two-top by the kitchen door, nursing a club soda. He had been waiting 45 minutes. Finally, a man named Marcus, a former VP under Stone, who had jumped ship early and landed at a rival airline, walked in. He looked physically uncomfortable. "Bob," Marcus said, not sitting down. "I can't stay." "Marcus, please," Robert begged, his voice thin. "Just 5 minutes. I have a proposal, a consulting gig. You're expanding in Asia. I have contacts." "Bob, stop," Marcus said, his voice low. "You can't be seen here. I can't be seen with you." "What are you talking about? We've known each other for 20 years. And I'm sorry for that. But you're not just Bob anymore. You're Stone. You're the GAD failure. My God, man, the Harvard Business Review just published a 40-page case study on you. The $5 billion seat change. It's required reading for our management trainees on what not to do. They're calling the Sutton incident the single most expensive customer service failure in modern history. Robert's face went slack. A case study. They're teaching your failure to first-year students, Bob. You're not a person. You're a cautionary tale. I'm sorry. I have to go. Marcus turned and walked out. Robert sat there, invisible. He motioned for the check. The bill was $4.50. He pulled out his wallet, fumbling, and realized he only had $2 in cash. He'd been living on the dregs of a debit account. He looked at his platinum Amex, the one he'd used to buy $10,000 dinners. He handed it to the waiter. A minute later, the waiter returned, looking embarrassed. "Sir, I'm terribly sorry. This card has been declined." The humiliation was absolute. Robert Stone, the man who once ran a $20 billion company, couldn't buy a club soda. He pushed the $2 onto the table and walked out of the restaurant, his footsteps silent, a ghost evaporating into the afternoon crowd. For Brenda and Mark, the reckoning was more mundane and somehow more brutal. Brenda, fired for gross misconduct and actions leading to catastrophic corporate loss, had discovered that the airline industry is a very small, very insular world. Her name, flagged on a do-not-hire list that was quietly shared among all major carriers, meant her career as a flight attendant was over. She now worked at the food court in the Roosevelt Field Mall on Long Island. Her uniform was a polyester polo shirt, a paper hat, and an apron perpetually stained with Sbarro pizza sauce. Her job was to wipe down tables, empty overflowing trash cans, and tell teenagers to stop vaping near the pretzel stand. She was in the break room, a windowless cinder block room when a small TV in the corner, tuned to a local news station, cut to a commercial. It was a new ad for Aerotech Summit, bright, energetic, and impossibly glamorous. Young, smiling, diverse flight attendants walked through a sun-drenched futuristic terminal. They looked happy. They looked proud. The tagline, in Eleanor Sutton's own voiceover, was simple. Aerotech Summit. We believe getting there should be as good as being there. Brenda felt a hot, acidic rage build in her throat. That should be her. That was her life, stolen by that woman in the hoodie. Her break ended. She walked back out into the cacophony of the food court, the smell of grease and cleaning fluid clinging to her. She saw him. It was Mark. He wasn't a night shift guard. His fate was more public. He was a mall security officer. He wore a uniform one size too large, a heavy belt of useless gear, and a look of permanent, defeated exhaustion. He was standing by the escalator, watching a group of kids for shoplifting. He saw Brenda at the same time. Their eyes met. 2 years of shared history, of whispered conversations and shared panic, of, we'll be fine, they can't fire us, turning into, oh my God, we're ruined, passed between them in a single, toxic glance. Brenda marched over to him, grabbing a dirty rag in her hand. Look at you, she sneered, her voice a low hiss. Look at you, Mark shot back, his face flushing red, smelling like old pepperoni, classy. This is your fault, she spat. All of it. If you hadn't opened your big, stupid mouth at the gate. You don't look like a premium passenger. Who the hell are you, the fashion police? You just had to provoke her. Me? Mark was sputtering. I didn't do anything. You were the one on the plane. You lied. She assaulted me. She assaulted me. You just couldn't stand a black woman in a sweatshirt telling you how to do your job. You had to call the cops. You had to make it a thing. I just backed up my colleague. You brought us both down, you hysterical. You backed me up? Brenda was now shrieking, causing shoppers to stop and stare. You threw me under the bus. You told Chen I was unstable. You tried to save your own skin. You're a coward, Mark. You were a coward at GAD, and you're a coward now. Shut up, he hissed, his hand instinctively going to the nightstick on his belt, then realizing, with a fresh wave of humiliation, it was plastic. Just shut up. Go back to your trash cans. Go back to your little golf cart, officer, she mocked. They stood there, two small, bitter people, forever anchored to this mall, to this failure. They were trapped in a prison of their own making, their lives defined not by what they had, but by what they had lost. The karmic debt was their new life partner, and the payments were due every single day. Even Mr. Caldwell, the passenger who had lit the fuse, did not escape. He had been identified from the passenger manifest after the Sutton incident became global news. His company, a mid-level pharmaceutical firm, fired him within the hour for conduct unbecoming of a representative. He now sold vinyl siding, a job that was 100% commission. He was in a stuffy living room in suburban New Jersey, trying to close a deal with a couple who was clearly not interested. And the beauty of the everlast line, he was saying, sweat beading on his forehead, is the 30-year warranty. You will never have to paint again. The husband, half watching a financial show on his large screen TV, grunted. Honey, the wife said, that's that woman you like. On the screen was Dr. Eleanor Sutton, ringing the opening bell at the NASDAQ. The anchor was fawning. And there she is, Dr. Eleanor Sutton, as Aerotech Summit stock surges another 20 points, making it the most valuable airline in the world. It's hard to believe that just 2 years ago, she built this empire from the ashes of her competitor. Caldwell froze. His sales pamphlet slipped from his hand. That face, he saw it in his nightmares. The calm, cold eyes that had looked at him as he bellowed for a flight attendant. I love this story, the wife said to her husband. This is the lady who was dragged off a GAD flight, right? And the CEO, fired her attackers and bankrupted the whole airline? Not quite, the husband said, turning up the volume. She was the one who bankrupted them. She was their financing. They messed with their own bank. God, what a bunch of morons. Good for her. That's a real boss right there. Caldwell felt the air leave his lungs. He had never known the full story. He just thought he'd been in the wrong place at the wrong time. He never realized he was the catalyst. He, with his self-important bluster over a seat, had not just inconvenienced a passenger. He had helped topple a monolith. "Sir," the husband said, noticing Caldwell's pale, sweaty face. "You okay? You look like you've seen a ghost." I have to go," Caldwell stammered. He gathered his samples, his hands shaking, and fled the house. He sat in his 10-year-old Toyota, the vinyl siding samples melting slightly in the passenger seat. He was a footnote in the story of a titan, a tiny, pathetic man who had demanded a seat and, in the process, lost his entire life. 2 years to the day. JFK, Terminal 4, Gate 42. The very air was different. The dingy, grey GAD carpet was gone, replaced with gleaming, polished terrazzo. The flickering fluorescent lights were replaced with warm, recessed LEDs that simulated daylight. The hard plastic chairs were gone, replaced with sleek, modern lounge seating, with built-in charging ports for all passengers, not just the ones in first class. The gate wasn't just remodeled, it was reimagined. The sleek, silver and green logo of Aerotech Summit was everywhere. Dr. Eleanor Sutton stood by the window, watching her new A321neos being serviced on the tarmac. She was, as always, in her travel uniform, a simple black hoodie, black joggers, and comfortable sneakers. She was working on her laptop, finalizing the details of a new $10 billion green energy fund. A young man in an impeccably tailored Aerotech Summit manager's suit approached her, his movements hesitant, his face a mix of terror and awe. "Dr. Sutton? Ma'am?" Eleanor looked up, her expression neutral but polite. "Yes? My name is Thomas," he said, his voice cracking slightly. I'm the station manager for Terminal 4. "A pleasure to meet you, Thomas," Eleanor said, preparing to be asked about a flight. "No, I had to say thank you," he blurted out. Eleanor paused. "Thank you for what?" "Ma'am, 2 years ago, I was here, at this gate. I worked for GAD. I was a baggage handler. I was on duty. That night. I was one of the 30,000 people who got laid off when GAD went under." Eleanor's face softened. The rage she had felt that night was long gone, replaced by the satisfaction of a problem solved. But this was the human cost. "Thomas, that must have been a terrible time for you." "It was," he said, nodding. "But that's not why I'm here. When Aerotech Summit started hiring, I applied. I just needed a job. But the training, it was different. The first day, our hiring manager, a man you personally hired from the hospitality industry, not aviation, spent 4 hours talking about the GAD incident. He called it the fall, and he said our one and only mission, our sacred duty, was to ensure that the principle of that incident never happened here. He said your motto was, "Dignity is not a perk. It is the price of a ticket." Eleanor had not known this. A small, genuine smile touched her lips. "I worked my way up," Thomas continued, his voice gaining confidence. "They really promote from within. They listen. My ideas for a better baggage tracking system? They implemented it. And last month, they made me station manager of this terminal, the very place where it all went wrong." He was tearing up now, and he quickly wiped his eye. "I'm sorry, it's just... You didn't just build a new airline, Dr. Sutton. You built a better one. You saved me. You saved a lot of us. I wanted to thank you for building it." Eleanor was genuinely moved. This was the true victory. Not the money. Not the bankruptcies. Not the revenge. It was this. It was taking something broken, rotten, and prejudiced, and building something strong, respectful, and good in its place. She stood up and, to Thomas's great shock, extended her hand. "Thomas," she said, her voice warm. "Thank you for telling me that. You're the one building it. You and everyone else here. I was just the first investor." Thomas shook her hand, beaming. An announcement came over the PA. "We are now ready to begin pre-boarding for Flight 1, non-stop to Los Angeles, at Gate 42. "Oh," Thomas said, snapping back to professional mode. "Dr. Sutton, I have you right here. You're in 1A, our flagship suite. Please let me escort you on board right now. You don't have to wait." Eleanor looked down at her boarding pass on her phone. She had, as always, booked 12A, a window seat in premium economy. She looked closer. The pass had been updated. Seat 1A. Status Chairman's Circle. The system, recognizing her name, had automatically upgraded her to the best seat on the plane. She hadn't even noticed. She looked at the line forming. She looked at Thomas's eager face. Then she zipped up her backpack and slung it over one shoulder. "Thank you, Thomas, that's very kind," she said. "But I think I'll just board with my group. I'm Zone 3, I believe." Thomas looked aghast. "But, Dr. Sutton, you're you. You own the airline." Eleanor smiled, a real bright smile. "Today I'm just a passenger in 12A, or 1A. It doesn't really matter, does it? On this airline," she said, nodding at him. "Every seat is a good one." She stepped into the Zone 3 line, right behind a young family struggling with a stroller. She blended in. She was just another passenger, going home. But as she walked down the jet bridge, Thomas and his entire gate crew watched her go. They didn't just see a passenger. They saw the ghost and the phoenix of Gate 42, the woman who had to be dragged off a plane, only to return as the woman who had built a better one. She didn't need to cut the line. She already owned the destination. And that's how a $5 billion deal vanished from one company and created a $20 billion giant for another. Global Air Dynamics wasn't just bankrupted by money, it was bankrupted by its own culture. Brenda and Mark, the employees who started it all, learned that prejudice has a price tag they'd be paying for the rest of their lives. Dr. Sutton proved that true power isn't about yelling the loudest in a confrontation. It's about having the final say in the boardroom. The airline thought they could dismiss her, but in the end, she dismissed them. What did you think of this story of hard karma? Do you believe the airline got what it deserved? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you love stories where arrogance is met with accountability, do me a favor, hit that like button, share this video with a friend, and most importantly, subscribe to the channel for more true life drama. Thanks for watching.